Dee rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady lum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady.
The capital of the United Kingdom, the City of London, having first been founded by the Romans in 43 AD. The city boasts world-famous landmarks, such as the Houses of Parliament and the London Eye, that both overlook the flowing waters of the River Thames. Trafalgar Square, named after the Battle of Trafalgar that occurred in 1805. Standing in the centre is the tall 52-metre Nelson's Column, guarded by lions at the foot, with the National Gallery located here also. Just half a mile down the Mall and through St James's Park is Buckingham Palace, the home of the royal family and the main residence of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Other landmarks include the Tower of London and Tower Bridge. This cosmopolitan city is home to a steady population of 8 million, on top of the hundreds and thousands of other tourists from all over the world visiting a city that is rich in history. Situated down Oxford Street, the busiest shopping street in London, is the Marble Arch. Designed by John Nash in 1827, the iconic landmark once stood in front of Buckingham Palace, but was relocated here in 1851 and is now the start of the A5 London to Holyhead trunk road. The road sneaks away in a straight northwesterly direction and begins life as Edgware Road. After Edgware, the road heads northwest, running through wild Buckinghamshire, Bedfordshire and Staffordshire, keeping close to the M1. Milton Keynes, Nuneaton, Tamworth and Birmingham is where the road comes close to or bypasses. However, our journey begins in Telford, 158 miles from London. Designated a new town in 1963, Telford has a population of 148,000 and has been provided well with transport links with that of the railway, having been built here in 1854 by the Shrewsbury and Birmingham Railway Company. Today's modern services see London North Western and Arriva Trains Wales services call here every half hour. The M54 motorway was completed in 1983 to provide connections with most of the West Midlands towns and villages, including the M6. Just a mile outside Telford, the M54 ends at Junction 7, diverging off towards Wellington. From here onwards, the A5 now takes centre stage for the rest of our journey. Though dual carriageway, there is not a junction or connecting incoming road from here until the ring road at Shrewsbury. The distance between Telford and the end of our journey at Holyhead is 120 miles, on top of the 158 miles from London, totalling 278 miles. Now travelling on a downhill gradient, we get distant views of the Cambrian Mountains. From London to Shrewsbury, the route is followed by that of the former Roman road, which at this point passes beneath us. The road was also known as Watling Street, that ran from Wroxeter, just outside Shrewsbury, to St Albans and Canterbury. Nowadays, the former A5 route has been renumbered by the B5061, B4380, and the A5112 and 458, the latter running through the centre of Shrewsbury. have now passed into the county of Shropshire and approached the 1933 built Shrewsbury bypass, a useful ring road avoiding the city centre. As we scoop off to the left, the A49 comes in from the north. This route merges into ours for 2 miles before continuing south towards Ludlow and Hereford. A fine medieval market town, Shrewsbury is the county town and was built up around the meandering River Severn, Britain's longest river that runs for 220 miles. With its narrow cobble streets and 11th century castle, Shrewsbury is one of the country's most hidden gems. Located 3 miles to the north of the city centre lies the city's most notorious battlefield when, on the 21st of July 1403, King Henry IV defeated Henry Percy of Northumberland. It was a first in England where 2 archers from each defences fought against one another, and subsequently Henry Percy lost his life to the hands of the bow and arrow. Leaving Shrewsbury behind, we rejoin our car 2 miles on near the village of Montford Bridge, for which we cross over the River Severn. As a matter of fact, the real bridge is in the village of the same name. Designed by Thomas Telford, the structure was built by John Carlin Jr. and John Tilley between 1790 and 1792. The A5 used to run through the village, but was diverted because of the Shrewsbury bypass. This is the junction to Montford Bridge. The most modern part of the A5, the Nestcliff Bypass, opened in March 2003. Originally the route did pass through the small village, but the long-awaited bypass has now reduced journey times considerably, with the speed limit from 30 miles per hour to 70. Further on from the bypass now, the road continues through farmland, passing the crossroads of Shothatton. Along the road leading to the east is Ryton 11 Towns, gaining a Roman numeral in its name when a castle was built, soon to be a major manor of 11 townships. Ruins of the castle are still glimpsed alongside the parish church, having been destroyed by Corwen and Glyndŵr. The road to West Felton converges at West Felton Junction. Continuing in a north-west direction, we can now see how wide the formation of the road is. Very rare anywhere in Britain, as the Roman road had ended in Shrewsbury, from there onwards all the way to Holyhead, we run on Thomas Telford's historical road. Prior to 1921, Ireland had been part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland since the Act of Union 1801, where both countries united, meaning better communication links needed to be established between London and Dublin. An Act of Parliament was authorised in 1815 for a road to be built from London to the harbour at Holyhead, allowing mail, goods and holiday makers to transship across the Irish Sea to the Irish capital. The new road was to be built by Thomas Telford, a Scottish civil engineer and architect who had worked on many roads and canals around Shropshire. Much of his work was the rebuilding of many parts of the former Watling Street, notably around Weedon to Oakengates, providing connections with many cities such as Coventry and Birmingham. Beyond Shrewsbury to Holyhead, Telford's road also followed pre-existing roads, though most required various connecting roads between them with the construction of major bridges over certain areas. So, effectively, the section from Shrewsbury to Bangor was the first section to open in 1819, with overall completion of the road throughout in 1826 with Telford's Menai Bridge. The road was to be the first state-funded project to be done on a road since the Romans. As we cross over the Montgomery Canal, Queenhead Junction is where the B5009 leads off to Whittington and Ellesmere on our right, and to our left into the Oswestry Golf Club. The B road is where the original road used to branch off towards Glyndŵr. Ashton Gates Junction diverge here for Pluckley and Miseglass. We join one of Wales's main trunk road, the Chester and Swansea route, the A483. Both roads join here at Mile End Roundabout. Located a few miles away from the Welsh border, Oswestry is by far the oldest border towns in the country. From the 2011 census, the town had a population of 17,000. A settlement has been in and around Oswestry for the last 2,000 to 3,000 years, when the area was known as Old Oswestry. Meanwhile, the road has now turned to the north, and the A483 runs over the A5 route as far as Halton Roundabout. Windsocks are located either side of the High Viaduct, which crosses over the valley of the River Ceiriog, which also forms the national border between England and Wales. Having left Shropshire, we've entered the county of Wrexham, one of Wales's smallest counties, and beyond the viaduct the road begins to climb up a steep gradient with a crawler lane alongside us to the right. Incidentally, the road has many gradients, but nothing exceeding 5.9% or 1 in 17. Alton roundabout is where we leave the A483 behind as it continues north passing Wrexham and towards the historical city of Chester. The A5 now turns to the west and runs past the northern edge of the town of Chirk, famous for its castle dating from completion in 1295. Now, the first exit takes the B road into the town centre. Although it's unnoticeable, the large spiked fence to the right is where the railway from Chester to Shrewsbury passes underneath, followed closely by the Shropshire Union Canal. During the road's first few years of opening, we would have been passing stage and mail coaches delivering letters and passengers between the UK and Ireland. Whilst we're on the subject, mail had been delivered between the two capitals since the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, who established a weekly post between the two. The original route was between London and Liverpool, however was relocated to Holyhead because of the shorter sea crossing. Mail and stage coaches carrying goods and passengers began to diminish with the arrival of the Chester and Holyhead Railway of 1848, providing an alternative to journey times compared to the road that took up to nearly 41 hours between either capital city. This required the construction of the road to begin in the 19th century, totalling a cost of £500,000, a vast sum of money back then, which is equivalent to £36 million today. Countdown marker boards are positioned either side of the road to remind road users they are about to enter a 30 mph zone and need to decelerate from 60. Painted triangles positioned opposite each other in the westbound direction heralds the approach to the 30 mph warning boards. Located on the hillside of the valley of the River Dee is Llangollen. Locally known as Fron, the village lies a stone throw away from the Llangollen aqueduct, carrying the Llangollen Canal over the cascading waters of the River Dee. Another one of Telford's constructions, the Grade 1 listed structure is 126 metres high and provides a footpath running alongside its full length. Continuing westwards, we enter the Vale of Llangollen and follow the valley of the River Dee for the next 20 miles. passing the Vale of Llangollen golf course. Directly ahead and just about in view on the hillside is Castell Dinas Bron, a ruined castle that overlooks the town of Llangollen. We have now arrived in the town of Llangollen. The picturesque town sits on the River Dee, with the town's main high street being crossed by a stone bridge with 3 segmental arches. Records show that the town first expanded from 1345 by Bishop Trevor, who lived at his manor house, Trevor Hall. Enlarging the town may have done the trick, as the town is popular all year round, with many tourists visiting and browsing through some of the small businesses and famous walks, whereas railway anoraks take a ride on the preserved Llangollen Railway that opens seasonally. The former GWR line gets the delights of tourists and enthusiasts travelling up and down the line as far as Corwen. Passengers either ride aboard a first-generation diesel multiple unit, or what is generally the norm, a steam engine, depicting here of Thomas the Tank Engine. Recently referred to, Castell Dinas Bron was once a fortified castle and can be accessed by means of a footpath, starting a steep ascent from the town centre. Legend has it that this is where the Holy Grail is buried, and was also where Madoc ap Griffith Mylor lived during the 13th century. It was he who was responsible for the building of the Vallet Chrysis Abbey, a Cistercian monastery where monks used to live and pray. A peaceful place it was until the reign of King Henry VIII, when the abbey was destroyed in his ever-long pledge to reform his new Church of England and remove all Roman Catholic worship grounds. The road is still following closely to the River Dee and passes through mid-Denbighshire. Berwyn Station, with its Tudor-looking facade and single platform sitting just out of view on the right. Just beyond the building, the B1503 drops away steeply underneath the viaduct and station platform to cross the Dee. Soon after that, the road meets with the A542 as it continues over the famous Horseshoe Pass. The railway line was built by the Llangollen and Corwen Railway Company and opened on the 1st of May 1865 as a continuation of the Vale of Llangollen Railway, which was a spur of the Shrewsbury and Chester line. Ultimately, the line did reach the Aberystwyth and Welsh Coast Railway, now the Cambrian Coastline. However, following the Beeching Report, the line closed 100 years later. A preservation society began restoring the line to its former glory in 1986. Here we pass the former toll gate, where fees had to be collected by the drivers of carriages and carts. Today it's a cafe, and at the end of the long lay-by is a milestone that was placed here by Thomas Telford, so the travellers could know how far it was to their destination. In this case, Holyhead is 73 miles away. Many toll gates still survive on this road and are now privately owned properties. Passing through the small village of Glyndŵr Fludwy, a place that has got strong links to the Welsh prince Owain Glyndŵr. It was here near the village that he established his fortified home known as Owain Glyndŵr Mount, surrounded by a watered moat and palisade fence and gate. 3 years after becoming prince, Glyndŵr's manor was destroyed by the troops of Harry of Monmouth in 1403, an English Prince of Wales, and later to become King Henry V. Glyndŵr's pledged to revolt against the reign of King Henry IV and gained many supporters as a result, facing many bloody battles along the way. Though strong in supporters, the prince and army did not have a big enough artillery to defend themselves, hence the destruction of the manor and any other fortified buildings. Owain avoided capture from the English around 1412 and was never seen or heard from again until his death in 1450. His death remains a mystery, with legends saying he is either buried at the parish church in Corwen or at his birthplace at Chirk, or his daughter's husband's estate in Herefordshire.
Dee rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady lum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady lum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady lum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady lum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toodly lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toody rum tum toodly rum tum toady rum tum toodly rum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady.
We have now arrived in Corwen, a classic Denbighshire town with a population of 2,300. Owain Glyndŵr was said to be proclaimed as Prince of Wales here on the 16th of September 1400. In 2007, a statue of the prince was placed in the town square, a life-size replica with him astride a horse, commemorating the day he was declared the last official Prince of Wales. Many old buildings still survive. For example, the supposed burial place of Glyndŵr at St Mile and St Snowdonia Church and Capel Rig. Corwen also once had a golf club, having been founded in 1909, but closed before World War II. Upon leaving Corwen, the road now crosses the River Dee, once the historical boundary of the Kingdom of Gwynedd for many centuries. At a considerable length of 70 miles, the river rises in headstreams on the slopes of the Allt near Llangollen before crossing over the border to England and entering the Irish Sea beside Chester and the Wirral Peninsula. At the traffic lights converging from the northeast is the A494, a principal route to the towns of Ruthin, Mold and Queensferry, the former being the county town of Denbighshire. Now crossed over one of the Dee's tributaries, the Avon Alwen. Now the 494 heads towards the southwest to run into the sizable town of Bala. After that, the road passes the large reservoir called Llyn before reaching Dolgellau. The Avon Caerw. Notice the brown sign on the left. These were added in 1995 so that they could be recognised by the traveller, the historical importance of this road, and allowed for any preservations to be attained. As the distance between London and Holyhead would have taken a considerable amount of time, unlike today's modern era, many taverns and inns were located in various small settlements. These allowed the traveller to take refreshment or even a bed for the night. We continue westwards, with the rich waters of the Avon Caerw alongside that now follow us for the next 7 miles just before Cerrig-y-Drudion. Typical of the A5, the road straightens out and we can see distant views ahead. In a matter of fact, as you possibly might have noticed, that most of the road runs on a straight alignment. This feature is also seen on the Roman road, even at the start of the A5 on the Edgware Road, and around Milton Keynes, Nuneaton and Tamworth. Although now totally overgrown at Teenant, the original route diverged off to the left, with stagecoaches back in the day as well as some modern vehicles encountering the sharpest of bends, nicknamed the Glyn Bends. This narrow section of the A5 was the original Telford Road and constructed in 1819, sandwiched between the hillside and Avon Carew. It wasn't until the 1970s to the late 1980s the section became problematic with severe rockfalls and reduced forward visibility. Therefore, in 1994, the road was realigned and had to be excavated through 230,000 tonnes of rock, taking 2 years to work through and opening on the 24th of June 1996 by Gwynlym Jones, who ceremoniously opened the new road. Successful it may have been to install this deviation to the original, this didn't stop the rockfalls in 2006, and so the road closed for a year while safety inspections were made. Still continuing through rich farming country, a survey by Cadw between 1998 to 2000 revealed that nearly 40% of the road's ancillary features still survive alongside today's modern era. Much more than anticipated, the Trust explained that most of the toll houses, milestones and roadside alcoves have all blended in and are still subsist. We are now approaching the village of Cerrig-y-Drudion. Just before that is another joining road from Bala, the B4051. The Avon Carew now threads away close to where its source is at Upper Aled, a remotely named area, as it is also the source of the Avon Aled. The road bypasses the village altogether nowadays, curving away back around to the northwest. In the centre of the village is the junction with the old Ruthin Road, which leads to Clocaenock Forest, as well as the scenic route to Llynbrennig and Denbigh. Before the village was bypassed, Cerrig-y-Drudion had the title of the highest village on the A5 between London and Holyhead. Not uncommon in these parts, the road has become straight and doesn't feature any severe gradients or bends, and remains so just outside Betws-y-Coed. past the go-karting centre at Cerrig-y-Drudion. The approaching building here on the right is called Llannig, let out by holiday makers visiting North Wales. It is in the hamlet of Llangollen, sitting on the small river called Meddwr. On the horizon we can see the mountain range of the Snowdonia National Park, a foretaste of what is to come. Approaching Pentraffoilas, we reduce our speed to 40 miles per hour, with the road from Denbigh converging on the right, the A543. It runs for nearly 14 miles to the former county town of Denbighshire by means of travelling via the scenic moors. Pentraffoilas village is a hotspot for cars exceeding the speed limit and therefore has a dummy policeman standing on the side of the road to make them aware. The village is notable for the chocolate house, and 70% of the population speaks Welsh. To the south lies the Ysbyty Ifan estate, 8,000 hectares of land with moorlands and valleys, giving the character of the Welsh landscape, and now under the control of the National Trust. At Padog, we cross over the bridge where the confluence of the Meddwr and Conwy River occurs, and the junction to the left leads to Ysbyty Ifan and Festiniog. This is the Conwy Falls Cafe. A footpath leads here to the waterfall, which is referred to as Rhaeadr y Graig Lawd. Also worth noting that the scenery has changed dramatically as we enter the Glyndŵr forest. Having paralleled our formation from the valley floor, the A470 main trunk road from Cardiff and Menai converges here before continuing to the north to the seaside resort of Llandudno. Our car crosses over the River Conwy by means of the Waterloo Bridge, being built out of cast iron and was completed in 1816, with the ironworks amplifying it was constructed around the same time of the Battle of Waterloo. Actually, the bridge was known as Llangollen Bridge before then. Road meets railway as we cross over the Conwy Valley line from Llandudno Junction to Menai. Coed is a fascinating location, with tourists visiting all year round, with the surrounding woodlands and lakes popular for hikers. As well as the 1869 station served by 6 local trains a day, family members can enjoy exploring the Conwy Valley Railway Museum, resurrected on the former goods shed and holds a narrow gauge railway and tramway, the latter being the only one in the world to be of narrow gauge and electrified. Arriving from Menai is a 2-car class 150 Sprinter operated under the train operating company Arriva Trains Wales. All trains are booked to call here and at the next station, Llanrwst, with the 3 halts from the south of Coed and the 4th from the north of Llanrwst being called at by request. For nearly 100 years, Betws-y-Coed has been famous for Swallow Falls, a waterfall which sits on the Afon Llyghi, a tributary of the River Conwy. The waterfall has gained notoriety through films, postcards and paintings, with a viewpoint located here for any faithful photographer. Swallow Falls and its equally magnificent hotel are located 2 miles to the west of Betws-y-Coed. From the change of wet weather to sunny weather, because of filming on different days, the road is now climbing steadily away from the hillside. Our route continues west before turning to the northwest into the Snowdonia National Park. Keeping close by is the Afon Llyghi, which we follow the valley of this river for the next 9 miles, close to where its source is located at Ffynnon Llyghi. Broad sweeping curves take us over the Llyghi and past the house of Tyhyll, which has been given the sobriquet Ugly House. Mystery surrounds the building as it is not fully known when the house was built, though it has been suggested the house was called Ugly as thieves and robbers could have been responsible for its erection. Many owners lived here and converted the house into tea rooms, but in 1989 the house was saved by the Snowdonia Society from an almost dilapidated state. We pass Capel Chirk Cadet Training Camp, owned by the Defence Infrastructure Organisation, or DIO. All along here the road is dead level. Just on the horizon we can see Glyndŵr Fach, standing at 994 metres or 3,261 feet above sea level. Old road coach has been tastefully preserved here adjacent to the hotel, giving an idea to tourists and the motorists what would have been seen on the road back in the early 19th century. Capel Chirk. The village here grew up around the development of the roads, and this is where the triangular road junction is located with the A4068, heading off through the Nantwrad Valley and and boasting some of Snowdonia's most striking scenery. The road splits halfway, with routes heading to Caernarfon, Llanberis, Beddgelert and Porthmadog. Hidden away behind a few local shops is the cascading waters of the Lligii River. Jumping forward a few miles, passing the campsite of Gwern Gorfysaf, the scenery changes from the rugged forest to the Rocky Mountains. Locally known as Snowdonia, the park's name derived from Mount Snowdon, England and Wales's highest mountain, at 3,560 feet above sea level. The park is one of the largest in Britain, with an area of 827 square miles, and like the Brecon Beacons in South Wales, the park was established in 1951 and was the third to be opened in Britain. Nearly 430 million people visited the park in 2013, which you could imagine has grown significantly in recent years. With the Glyndŵr Fach located on the left, we approach Llangollen, nestled between the two mountain ranges of Trevan and Carnfai. A tributary of the Lligii begins here, but its main river, the Afon Ogwen, runs alongside our route as far as Llandegai, 8 miles distant. Towering over the lake road is the 1,044 metre-high Carn Dafydd. There is not one, or two, or three, but 4 viewpoints dotted along here, as the scenery is magnificent. At the western end of the lake is the Ogwen Cottage, National Trust Welcome Centre and YHA Youth Hostel, with the latter standing at the banks of Penna or Wen. Being a 3,209-foot mountain, it's the 7th highest in Wales and is the same height as Scafell Pike in England. Now we head towards Bangor, with the road travelling on the ledge cut from the mountainside of Carn Dafydd. Having passed the summit of the road at the eastern end of Llyn Ogwen at 312 metres, the road begins a long descent to Bethesda through the picturesque Nant Ffrancon Pass. Lord Penryn's road further up was along the valley floor, so alternatively, Telford cut the road from the mountainside, making this the most difficult section to construct and to maintain. A challenging prospect it was, as the gradient was kept at around 1 in 14 to 17 in a bid to continue the horse-drawn mail coaches. Here the road begins to show a softer approach, as the hills and fells are left behind and we enter rich farming country. We have now moved past to the north of the town of Bethesda. With a population of just under 5,000 since 2011, the town of Bethesda was established in 1823 around Bethesda Chapel, the building of which has been converted into flats. Further development of the town came with the slate and stone workings from Penrhyn Quarry, and this industry also spread the population belt to create the nearby village of Tregarth. Bethesda today is quiet and calm, with most of the population moving away to gain work in the cities, and the closure of the 1884 built railway, which coincidentally closed in 1963, but for passenger traffic in 1951. Another former tollgate crossing. This is located on a curve just before the bridge carrying us over the Afon Ogwen. Road travellers for Llanberis can take the first exit at this new roundabout. Next up comes another major roundabout as we connect with the A55 for the first of many times. Known as the North Wales Expressway, the dual carriageway links the northwest of England with North Wales and Anglesey. To the west, the Afon Ogwen flows into the Irish Sea at Spinney's Aber Ogwen as we pass the village of Llandegai, an area having been inhabited since Neolithic times. We have now arrived at the northern edge of the city of Bangor. Bangor is one of the oldest and smallest cities in Wales, with a population of 18,000. The city welcomes a plethora of students who study at the main university, which was opened on the 18th of October 1884. 46% of the resident population speaks Welsh. That is low for the county of Gwynedd, as it does have a high reputation to being the most Welsh-spoken county in Wales. The city lies close to the Menai Strait, a section of shallow tidal water at 16 miles long, which separates the mainland with the Isle of Anglesey. The Bangor and Fishguard trunk route, A487, terminates here as we prepare to cross the Menai Strait by means of the Menai suspension bridge. This was Telford's last major construction to be built, as when it opened on the 30th of January 1826, the route from Holyhead to London was finally completed. The bridge replaced the former ferry, having for many years been the only source for residents reaching the mainland. At the time of its completion, it was the largest and first iron suspension bridge in the world, and stands at around 98 metres high, as back in the day sailing boats with high masts would have passed underneath and thus avoided any collision. Today the bridge is Grade 1 listed, being one of two bridges to connect with the mainland, as when in 1850 the Britannia Bridge was built carrying the Chester and Holyhead Railway Company. Sadly, in 1970 that bridge burnt down and had to be completely rebuilt, with the bonus of carrying the expressway opening from Bangor to Holyhead in the year 2001. Having crossed over the bridge, we pass the small town of Menai Bridge. Our route takes us over the Isle of Anglesey, England and Wales's largest island. One of Anglesey's main roads splits here and diverges off towards the northern side of the island, leading to the villages of Benllech, Beaumaris and Camoes. The road also runs to the most northerly town in Wales, Amlwch. We pass beneath the concrete bridge carrying the A55 as we descend towards the village of Llangollen. This is the 6th largest settlement on the island, but probably the most touristy, as Llanfairpwll is famous for its longest name. Notably, this is displayed on both the signs of the tourist centre and the mainline station, which has been promoted as a request stop. Llanfairpwll Gwyngyll Gogerych Gwynrobwll Llantysilio Gogol Goch. Leaving the village of Llanfairpwll, the A55 runs close to our route and will do so for much of the way to Holyhead. Anglesey's history is rich, with people inhabiting the land since the Bronze Age. Having a somewhat rural feel to it, the island has 276 square miles, with most of it being farmland, and with a population since 2016 of 69,000. Out of view to our left, the North Wales coastline from Crewe bends towards the south side of the island to serve the small settlements of Bodorgan, T. Croes and Rhosnega, the former being the home of the Prince and Duchess of Cambridge until 2013. Four miles from Llanfairpwll Gwyngyll, this is Corwen. Once again, the road is straight and has given us spectacular views as we level out and cross over the Avon Cefni, which flows for 5 miles from the county town of Llangefni and enters the sea at Malltraeth. junction 6 with the A55. This is also the junction with the A5114 to Llangollen. It's easy to see why the A5 has the slower route of both the railway and A55. Journey times between Bangor and Holyhead by rail is 25 minutes, 30 minutes by A55, but by A5 approximately an hour. Although having said that, the road does have the scenic route. Mixing up the weather again, the road passes the village of Shrewsbury. The triangular sign with the picture of an aeroplane in it warns road users they are coming into a regularly used flight path. The warning lights are similar to that seen at level crossings. If a reported plane is coming into land, the amber light will first show before a continuous red lights are displayed, with signals being activated from the control tower here. This is located at RAF Mona, owned by the RAF and used primarily as a relief depot from RAF Valley. Although it is in regular use for the BAE Hawks, the airfield is also used for a civilian flying club. Gwalchmai. Here in the middle of the village is a single-track road leading to the village of Shrewsbury, mentioned already as a station on the NWCL. Located not far from the community is the sand dunes, popular for walkers. Whilst filming this driver's eye view in August 2017, the National Eisteddfod was being hosted at Bodedern. As the festival is very popular during the week and attracts many visitors, temporary one-way systems were implemented to allow the coaches from the makeshift park and ride to gain access. The village is located down a single-track road, so it is not possible for a coach in either direction. We pass one of the coaches heading back to the park and ride. The large letters in the middle of the roundabout illustrates the word croeso, meaning welcome in Welsh. The annual long festival has been running for almost 156 years and gains an attendance of nearly 160,000 people a year. Many organisations based in Wales come to this festival to promote and support the organisation, such as S4C TV-based programme and BBC Cymru, playing big parts to the entertainment section. Of course, the Welsh Government plays a big part in attending in the festival, with various universities also advertising their courses to young adults wishing to gain a prosperous future. These include Aberystwyth, University of Wales, Cardiff, Bangor and Swansea. The Eisteddfod is normally run at the first week of August and can be in a variety of different locations, so that the Welsh language can be widely spoken. There are dozens of tents, booths and pavilions that are constructed in the open field, which means it is easy for people to explore the different range of shops and small businesses, all eager to promote themselves, even earning a small fortune. Opposite the food store is the large stage where many performers show off their talent of singing, dancing, poetry, etc. Tent just on the edge of the festival gives the enthusiast a brief history of the island from both ancient and modern times. The Eisteddfod is targeted at the younger generation. Incidentally, one of the main high schools in Anglesey at Menai was at the festival, along with the gallery with modern art. festival is a delight to visit, but if you have missed it this year, the next will be hosted in Cardiff in 2018. Back on the main road again, and having passed junction 4 of the expressway, we head towards Caer Geliog. Caer Geliog village is sandwiched between the two expressway junctions. The final junction with the A55. The road now levels out. This is Valley. Although unusual for such a populated name, the topography shows that there aren't any valleys around the area, as it is surrounded by flatland. RAF Valley is located close by, which shares the runways of Anglesey's airport, and runs daily flights to and from the Welsh capital. Now we cross the Stanley Embankment, completed in 1823, that connects the Isle of Anglesey with that of Holy Island, and was so named from the Stanley family, who were major benefactors in the area. The railway was next to follow in 1848, and significant widening of the embankment was necessary to allow for the double track to cross it. As we have heard, the A5 was the main route to Holyhead. However, in 2001, the A55 became the faster and more direct route. Both railway and A55 continue straight ahead behind the wall, whilst we turn towards the north of the island into the wooded area at Penrose. Holy Island was first founded by the patron saint of Kirby, as in Welsh the island is called Ynys Cybi, with Holyhead anglicised name being Kirkby, meaning Fort of Kirby. Approaching Journey's End, the road passes the viewpoint at Creigiau Nimrod. Entering suburbia, the national speed limit signs disappear altogether and the normal speed limit of 30 miles per hour is attained. Holyhead is the largest town in the county of the Isle of Anglesey and arguably the busiest port, with ferries travelling backwards and forwards from the Irish capital. Stena Line and Irish Ferries are the main companies seen here at the port, with gate-to-gate traffic time taking 1 hour 40 minutes. Holyhead town centre is busy throughout the day, with its small businesses, cinema and theatre, as well as many accommodations where travellers can stay overnight before venturing out across the sea. Of course, the town also boasts a golf course, fishing and sailing facilities for families to enjoy water sports, and above all for hikers who wish to see the most amazing views around the area.
Dee rum tum toodle lum tum toody rum tum toodle lum tum toody rum tum toody rum tum toody rum tum toodle lum tum toody rum tum toodle lum tum toody rum tum toodle lum tum toody rum tum toody rum tum toody rum tum toodle lum tum toody rum tum toodle lum tum toody rum tum toodle lum tum toody rum tum toody rum tum toody rum tum toodle lum tum toody rum tum toodle lum tum toady rum tum toodle lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toodle lum tum toady rum tum toodle lum tum toady rum tum toodle lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toodle lum tum toady rum tum toodle lum tum toady rum tum toodle lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toody rum tum toodle lum tum toady rum tum toodle lum tum toady rum tum toady rum tum toady